Most people spend their entire lives chasing two things: safety and pleasure. They work to survive, to put food on the table, to pay bills, and in the little free time left they seek comfort, entertainment, distraction, fleeting joys. If you look closely, nearly every modern life is a cycle between fear and comfort, anxiety and relief. But what if this is not life at all? What if survival and pleasure are not the goals of existence, but its traps? Imagine a lion born in captivity. It is fed every day, sheltered from danger, never forced to hunt. Its belly is full, its life secure. On the surface, it looks safe, but look closer. Its claws dull, its spirit broken, its roar a faint echo. Compare this to the lion in the wild. Hungry, always in danger, but alive with a ferocity that burns in its eyes. Which one is truly living? Nietzsche believed that most human beings lived like the caged lion. They confuse comfort with life. They think security is freedom, when in fact it is its opposite. For Nietzsche, existence is not about survival, and it is not about pleasure. Those are instincts of the herd. The deeper force that drives life is something far more dangerous, far more demanding, and far more alive. He called it the will to power, not power in the crude sense of domination, but power in its most creative sense, the will to grow, to overcome, to expand, to impose meaning where there is none. A seed pushes through the dirt not to survive, but to become a tree. An artist creates not to live, but to bring something new into the world. A warrior risks death not for safety, but for glory. Yet here is the haunting truth. Most people will never touch this force. They will work, eat, reproduce, grow old and die without ever living. Why? Because comfort feels easier than growth, because mediocrity feels safer than greatness, because the herd always whispers, "Stay with us, don't rise, don't dare." But Nietzsche knew. Those who choose comfort over creation slowly decay inside, their souls atrophy, their strength weakens. They may look alive, but they are already dead. So here is the question: are you living for comfort, or are you living for power? Survival will keep you alive. Pleasure will keep you distracted, but only the will to power will make you truly live. When Friedrich Nietzsche shattered the foundations of philosophy in the 19th century, he did so with a single audacious claim that life itself is not driven by survival nor by pleasure, but by a deeper and more dangerous impulse. He called it the will to power. This idea was radical because it rejected the two prevailing explanations of human existence. Charles Darwin had framed life as the struggle for survival. Jeremy Bentham and the utilitarians reduced it to the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain. Both frameworks seemed rational and self-evident. After all, don't we live so that we do not die? Don't we chase happiness and avoid suffering? Nietzsche's answer was simple and terrifying. He looked at the world with sharper eyes. If survival were the true essence of life, then why do humans risk everything for glory, for love, for an idea, for a cause? Why do artists starve in poverty to complete a painting that will outlast them? Why do revolutionaries face death rather than live safely under tyranny? Why does the soldier throw himself onto a grenade to save his comrades? None of these actions can be explained by mere survival or by the pursuit of pleasure. Something deeper is at work. That something is the will to power. It is the drive not just to continue, but to transcend, to expand beyond limits, to test oneself against resistance, to impose form on chaos. In Nietzsche's words, life itself is will to power. Nietzsche illustrated this through his famous metaphor in Thus Spoke Zarathustra. The spirit transforms in 3 stages. First a camel, then a lion, then a child. The camel represents the burden bearer, the person who accepts the weight of duty, tradition, and obedience. They survive, but only as slaves to expectation. The lion awakens with defiance. It roars, "No," to the dragon of "thou shalt," rejecting imposed values. It seeks freedom, strength, and the courage to confront the world as it is. Finally, the child emerges, not weak but powerful in innocence. The child creates. The child says yes to life, inventing new values, new worlds, new meaning. This progression shows us that true power is not domination over others, but transformation of the self into a creator. Yet most people remain camels. They carry the weight of what society, religion, politics, and family expect of them. They live in the cycle of survival: work, consume, sleep, repeat. They do not ask what they want to create, they only ask what they must endure. Governments, corporations, and cultural norms exploit this. They keep us obedient through fear of loss. Fear of losing your job, your reputation, your belonging. When you live only to survive, you are easily controlled. Modern psychology confirms this. The concept of learned helplessness, discovered by Martin Seligman, describes how people can be conditioned into passivity when they believe escape is impossible. Many live their entire lives this way, helpless, docile, surviving but never thriving. But even those who escape the fear of survival often fall into the second trap: pleasure. Nietzsche saw pleasure as another mask of weakness. Hedonism is not strength, it is surrender. When people live only to feel good, they become addicted, complacent, easy to pacify. Freud's pleasure principle explained how the human psyche seeks immediate gratification. Today, this is weaponized by algorithms, marketing, and endless distractions. Social media gives us dopamine hits, consumerism gives us shallow thrills, pornography gives us counterfeit intimacy. But none of these fulfill the deeper hunger of the soul. They keep us entertained while our potential withers. The Stoics knew this long before Nietzsche. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Pleasure consumes time without giving depth. Comfort erodes character, and slowly the will to power is smothered beneath pillows of convenience. So what, then, is the will to power? Nietzsche was clear. It is not the lust to dominate others, but the will to expand oneself, to overcome limitations, to create something greater. The seed does not push through the soil merely to survive. It expands into a tree, reaching for the sun, casting shade, producing fruit. The artist does not paint merely to avoid starvation or to feel good. They paint to bring a vision into the world that never existed before. The thinker does not write simply to preserve their life. They write to transform the consciousness of generations. This expansion is always against resistance. Just as muscles grow through strain, the spirit grows through struggle. Nietzsche believed suffering is not an obstacle to life, but the engine of growth. He despised comfort, not because it was immoral, but because it was deadening. Comfort breeds stagnation, struggle breeds transformation. Nietzsche warned that those who deny the will to power deny life itself. They may continue biologically, but spiritually they are already corpses. He saw in his own age the rise of what he called the last man, a being who seeks only comfort, who avoids risk, who sneers at greatness. The last man has no higher aim than pleasure and safety. Look around today, and you can see them everywhere, endlessly scrolling, endlessly consuming, endlessly surviving. The last man is satisfied but hollow, alive but lifeless. And yet, Nietzsche also saw the possibility of a higher type of human, the creator, the overcomer, the one who embraces the will to power not as domination, but as self-overcoming. This higher type is rare because it requires the courage to leave the herd, to face suffering, and to create new meaning in a meaningless world. Thus, the secret of the will to power is this: life is not about avoiding death, nor about chasing pleasure. Life is about expansion. It is about the courage to grow beyond what you are, to impose your form on the chaos, to say yes to life even when it wounds you. Most people never grasp this because both survival and pleasure seduce them into passivity. But for those who dare to awaken, a deeper path begins. If comfort is the velvet prison, then who built it? Who benefits from keeping human beings weak, docile, and distracted? Nietzsche warned that the will to power is not simply a personal struggle, it is also a cultural war. A war waged by forces that thrive on mediocrity and fear, and tremble before greatness. Nietzsche's fiercest critique was against organized religion, particularly Christianity as he saw it practiced in Europe. He accused it of turning strength into sin and weakness into virtue. Where the noble spirit once admired courage, ambition, and vitality, religion exalted humility, obedience, and meekness. He called this a slave morality. It was born from the resentment of the weak toward the strong. Unable to overcome their oppressors, the powerless redefined virtue to glorify their condition. Power became evil, weakness became good, ambition became pride, suffering became holiness. This morality seeps into the psyche. It convinces the individual that striving for greatness is selfish, that creation is arrogance, that power is sin. And so, countless souls turn away from the will to power, not because they cannot feel it, but because they have been taught to fear it. Politics plays its part as well. Rulers have always known that a docile population is easier to govern than a powerful one. Empires do not want creators, they want taxpayers. Corporations do not want thinkers, they want consumers. Fear is used to keep people obedient. Fear of enemies, fear of chaos, fear of poverty. Distraction is another tool. Endless entertainment, constant outrage, trivial news, and reward is the third. Give people just enough comfort, just enough bread and circuses, and they will not revolt. Modern propaganda has refined this into an art. Entire industries are devoted to convincing you that safety and pleasure are all that matter. Work to survive, spend to consume, relax to repeat. A perfect loop of passivity. Nowhere is this clearer than in consumer culture. Nietzsche did not live to see the rise of the modern shopping mall, but he would have recognized it instantly as the cathedral of the last man. Consumerism tells you you are incomplete, but this product will complete you. You are powerless, but this brand will make you powerful. The will to power is commodified, packaged, and sold back to you in the form of clothes, gadgets, vacations, and status symbols. But these are empty. They do not expand the soul, they distract it. They simulate growth while ensuring none occurs. It is the equivalent of feeding the lion in the cage. Its belly is full, but its claws are dull. History, however, gives us examples of those who refused this velvet prison. Socrates chose death over abandoning philosophy. He could have escaped, but instead he drank the hemlock and affirmed his devotion to truth. Van Gogh endured poverty and madness in pursuit of his vision, leaving behind works that still burn with life. Martin Luther King Jr. walked into the storm of hatred and violence, risking everything for justice, and Nietzsche himself lived in obscurity, isolation, and illness, yet produced ideas that continue to shake the foundations of thought. What unites them is not survival or pleasure, but the courage to expand, to live dangerously, as Nietzsche urged. Carl Jung described this same struggle in the language of psychology. He called it individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating the conscious and unconscious, by stepping beyond the collective norms of society. But individuation is rare, because the collective resists it. The herd offers comfort in exchange for conformity. To become an individual is to risk rejection, exile, even hatred. It is to stand apart, often alone. Most people will never achieve individuation because the cost is too high. It requires facing the shadow, embracing suffering, and daring to live without the approval of the group. For most, the herd feels safer. And so, like prisoners in a luxurious cell, they remain comfortable and small. Imagine two men born into the same city. The first feels restless in the routines of comfort. He dares to question the narratives of his culture. He faces rejection, struggle, loneliness, but he creates, he expands, he becomes more than he was. The second feels the same hunger at first, but he suppresses it. He chooses the safe job, the easy path, the comforts of conformity. He avoids conflict, avoids risk, avoids the discomfort of growth. He grows older, wealthier, more comfortable, but emptier. One day he wakes up and realizes he has never truly lived. His tragedy is not that he dies, but that he never woke up. This is why Nietzsche warned of the last man, the being who chooses comfort over greatness, who never risks, who never creates, who dies having never lived. What then does it mean to live the will to power? How can we resist the velvet chains of comfort and step into a life of risk, growth, and creation? It begins with affirmation. Nietzsche's philosophy starts not with despair, but with saying yes to existence, even to its pain, its suffering, its chaos. He called this amor fati, the love of fate. Not resignation, not endurance, but love. To look at every hardship and declare, I want this, I embrace this, I choose this. The one who lives the will to power transforms suffering into fuel. The obstacle becomes the path, the wound becomes the teacher, the storm becomes the forge. Next comes the breaking of comfort. To live dangerously is not to chase pain for its own sake, but to reject the numbness that comfort breeds. Instead of endless distraction, cultivate silence and reflection. Instead of passive consumption, create something new, even if no one sees it. Instead of avoiding conflict, speak your truth and face the consequences. Instead of running from fear, confront it and grow stronger. Comfort weakens, struggle strengthens. To live the will to power also requires facing the shadow. You cannot live fully if you repress half of yourself. This means admitting your envy, your aggression, your lust, your ambition, your fear. It means seeing the parts of yourself you would rather deny. But once integrated, the shadow becomes a source of vitality. What was once destructive becomes creative. The man who faces his shadow is no longer a puppet of unconscious drive. He is whole, powerful, dangerous, but in service of creation, not destruction. Nietzsche also insisted on creation. He despised imitation. To live the will to power is to become a creator of values, of meaning, of self. In his metaphor, the child represents this. Innocence combined with power, the ability to play, to imagine, to build. Most adults lose this capacity. They conform, they copy, they repeat. But the creator invents. This creation can take many forms. A painting, a business, a family, a philosophy, a movement. What matters is that it is yours, born of your struggle, your vision, your overcoming. Finally, Nietzsche asked us to live as if eternity depended on it. His thought experiment of eternal recurrence asks, what if you had to live this life again and again, forever? Would you curse it, or would you embrace it? To live the will to power is to act in such a way that you would choose your life again, without regret. Every decision becomes heavier, but also more meaningful. What does it feel like to live this way? Not constant joy, not constant success, but vitality. A burning intensity, a sense of standing on the edge, awake in a way the comfortable will never understand. Nietzsche described it as a yes that resounds through the soul. The Stoics described it as tranquility born from strength. Jung described it as individuation, the union of opposites within. Modern psychology calls it flow, the state of being fully alive, fully present, fully engaged. Not because it is easy, but because it demands everything of you. But let us be clear, this path is not safe. To live the will to power is to embrace rejection, isolation, and struggle. You may be misunderstood, ridiculed, even hated. Nietzsche himself lived in loneliness and illness. Many of the great creators died poor, condemned, or forgotten. And yet, their lives burned brighter than the millions who chose comfort. Their works outlasted their suffering. Their power expanded beyond their own lives, shaping centuries. The will to power does not promise happiness. It promises depth. It promises life. So the choice remains. You can live like the last man, safe, entertained, comfortable, and dead inside. Or you can live like the creator, dangerous, struggling, alive. Most will choose the first. They will die never having lived. But a few, perhaps you, will choose the second. And for them, existence will blaze with a fire that even death cannot extinguish. Nietzsche once said, "Become who you are." It is not a suggestion, it is a command. Most people will never obey it. They will trade greatness for safety, creation for consumption, life for comfort. But you, if you dare, can choose otherwise. Remember this, survival keeps you breathing, pleasure keeps you distracted, but only the will to power makes you truly alive. So ask yourself, will you remain a prisoner of comfort, or will you embrace the struggle, face the shadow, create your world, and finally live? The choice is yours. The time is now.